Next up, David Charles Allen, Village Properties Realtor and host of The Hop. That's Home Ownership Podcast with the latest Santa Barbara real estate news. Welcome, David.
Welcome to The Hop. This is David Charles Allen, Realtor at Village Properties in Santa Barbara, California. My great friend and co-host, Patty Teal. I'm doing wonderful today, Patty. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, too, David. Thanks for asking.
Good to hear. Yeah, beautiful weather here in Santa Barbara. Glad to be back. Sunny skies scattered throughout the 70s. A little bit of a south swell, too. If you're out there looking for some waves, you may have to travel down to Ventura or somewhere down in Malibu, but it could be some fun-sized waves out there.
Wow, you got back from your vacation just in time, didn't you?
Perfect timing, indeed. And then in terms of how interest rates are performing, they have been jumping around a lot. 30-year fixed rate jumbos down to 4.375 and 30-year fixed rate conforming is at 5% at the moment.
Wow, they have been moving around. I thought I heard in the news that they are going up, or is that something that they're talking about in the future?
They have been going up, almost went up to close to 6%, and then we see them drop back down. So again, it's impossible to know what exactly they're going to do, but historically 5% is still really low. But when you look at what you're offering in the last couple of years at 3%, even 2.5%, that's a huge difference in terms of affordability.
Yeah, you've explained that, how much difference it makes actually in a mortgage payment.
Yeah, it's quite significant depending what price range you're in. And it's more too, like I said, 5% still historically low, but it's getting over the mental hurdle like, wow, it's way more than what it was before. So what's best for me? And then with prices pretty much still at a top range, that just compounds the issue.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that mental hurdle, I don't think it can be underestimated or overestimated, because you just think, gosh, if I'd only done this a few months ago, I would have only been paying this much.
That's correct. When the prices are lower, but the interest rates are higher, you're going to have less taxes and insurance payments. But then again, how much prices are going to go lower, if they're going to go lower, or how much interest rates are going to go up. So it's really hard to gauge.
Right. And are you starting to see some of the buyers return to the market who went through some buyer fatigue because they just weren't getting their offers accepted because they were not all cash buyers?
You know, there's definitely still buyers out here in terms of at least Santa Barbara. We're seeing a lot more price changes. We're seeing a lot more homes sit on the market for longer. It's definitely back to being somewhat of a buyer's market, so to say. Where if you're still presenting a strong offer, it's going to be taken more seriously now than, say, 6 months ago when it was you needed to have all cash, no contingencies. So it's shifting back to more of a balanced market. I still don't think it's a buyer's market completely. Maybe more of it's a balanced market, but prices are still really high. So really don't know how it's going to turn out.
Right. I know you don't have a crystal ball. You have a lot of great knowledge, but that crystal ball is something we could all use.
Yeah. And then in terms of how the statistics have performed, we had 50 new listings, 15 price changes, 24 that closed, 34 that went pending, and 2 that were coming soon. So again, we're seeing a buildup of supply. There's still a good amount of homes that aren't selling in the first week. And those price changes are significant. If we're seeing almost a third or so of the homes getting price changes, that is indicative of how buyers are responding to the current market.
Right. A few months ago, some of those price changes were raising the price, but I imagine right now that's people dropping the prices.
Yes, definitely people dropping the prices. I've still seen certain homes go for over asking. That's usually given the standards that we usually follow in terms of location, either move-in ability or low price because it's in need of a total fixing. There's definitely some that are still getting traction in terms of selling for over asking, but it's going back to kind of how it was before, where people are looking at what's most important to them. And maybe they don't want to live on such a busy street, or maybe they don't want to have a house that's nice but needs a lot of work and they're paying top dollar for it. So it's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Any questions of the day for me?
Well, David, I always just think about it all week so that I have some questions for you. With this changing market and houses sitting on the market a little bit longer, prices not quite so high, how does that affect the way you do your business?
It's really going to come down to who you're working with. Really going to depend. You just have to give them kind of everything that you know and kind of go with what they're feeling, because everyone's going to be in a different situation. Some people don't have the opportunity to wait things out or to kind of sit and see how things are going to go. So it's always going to be dependent on the people you're working with and what's their best interest. And you're just going to be there giving them the best advice that you know that could help them with their futures and giving them options.
Yeah. And then my second question was, working with a team, you work with Village Properties. So is it advantageous for someone to work with a team or work with a realtor who's a part of a team rather than a solo agent?
It's all going to come down to your work style. So if you're a new agent and you don't quite have the business that you'd want, you don't have the clientele right off the bat, maybe you want to join a team and you kind of get help from them. And then if they have any overflow clients, you can start working with those clients. So it's really going to tend on your work style. And if you like working with the team, some people love working with the team. And if you want to go that route, it's definitely advantageous. Learn some experience from them. Or if you're an older seasoned agent, maybe you want to have more free time and you add someone to your team so they can take care of those overflow clients or allow you to do things on your own time when they're working as well.
Oh, that makes perfect sense, David. So how are your fur babies and how did they do on this trip? 3 dogs and a kitty cat. How did they all do on the trip to Idaho? Road trip, I should add.
It was good. They did pretty well. The cat was definitely interesting to drive with. He'd basically sleep the whole time, but right when we got in the car, he would meow for like a half hour. So it was a little bit annoying. And then he'd sleep most of the time, and then he'd wake up periodically and just start meowing again. And you're just like, okay, this is annoying. Go back to bed. But he just slept on the dash for like 10 hours. So it was pretty cute. We had a little cat ornament.
Like a cat ornament. That's very, very funny. Well, I had a pretty peaceful week. And once again, watching my grand dog, it's gone pretty well, except for my husband left some butter on the table. And boy, that dog got it lickety split. Riley got it. Gave him an upset stomach. But so far, it's been a few days now, and I think everything's going to be okay. I didn't really realize that butter was so bad for dogs.
I didn't know butter was bad for dogs. I'm sure the dog really enjoyed it, though.
that one moment.
Yeah.
And literally, it took him 1 second and it was gone, the dish of butter, a whole stick. So yeah, he had some upset stomach. So he had chicken and rice for a few days and a little pumpkin, and he's doing okay now.
That's good. Yeah, they'll get to anything if it smells good to them.
Ah, absolutely.
If it goes down and tastes good, they're like, oh, I'll give you some more.
I know. One of my kids said, well, you'd think he'd be smarter once he ate it. It made him sick. And I said, well, I don't think he put 2 and 2 together that he got sick, hours later or the next day, that it had anything to do with the butter. He just knew it tasted good at the time. So I'm sure he'd do it again if he had the opportunity.
Yeah, we take Jasmine to the beach all the time, and she hasn't figured it out that drinking salt water will make her sick. So still drink salt water and get sick as we're leaving. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, she just hasn't put those 2 together. I can understand that. Yeah.
And it's pretty funny how she continuously does it. So yeah, going back to butter, I'm sure butter is more enjoyable than drinking salt water. So he'll do it again if he has the chance.
Yes, I'm sure he will. Anyway, well, thank you, David, for the real estate news. I really appreciate it. I look forward to talking to you again next week.
All right, let's give it a go next week, Patty.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.